everybody, we've got a protractor in front of us. We're going to look at measuring and drawing angles right now. So you can see right here my protractor. It's got two numbers on it. There's one on the lower part that says 180, one on the upper part that says 0. We always want to start with the one that says 0, whether we're looking at it from this side or over here. You can see the 0s on the bottom actually, and 180s on the top. So we always want to start with a 0 regardless. Now, you want to keep in mind what you learned about acute and obtuse angles when you're measuring and drawing angles, because you'll confuse these numbers here. Like say for instance I told you to draw a 20-degree angle. You'd go up to here and there would be some confusion about, well, is this a 160 or a 20-degree angle? And you can see based on where the blue, I guess we'll call them line segments because they don't have arrows on the end, where the blue line segments meet up here, it's creating an acute angle, which means it has to be 20. It can't be 160. So as you can see, my angles are going to get wider and wider as I go. And eventually, I'll get to the top of the protractor here, and we'll have a 90-degree angle. And you can see that both scales are 90. That's because if I was to start from over here with this as 0, I'd still have a right angle. Whether it be with this, you can see the black line here, or with the blue line here. And as we keep going, once we get past this point, our angles start to become obtuse. And again, we're still looking at that top scale. So we're at 130, not 50 here. And if I go all the way down to the bottom, eventually we'll get to the bottom. We'll get to 180 degrees, and that's a straight angle. So that's why it's 180 degrees. So let's look at some that we can measure. This is angle SRQ. So I'm going to put, first of all, I want to always say whether it's acute or obtuse. And this one just looks acute. And that will help me in deciding which scale to use in case I make an error with that. Using which scale is probably your biggest wolf with this stuff. So measure angle SRQ equals. And now we can use the protractor to kind of see where this would fit. So I would put this middle point right over R, and then I'm just going to rotate. Oh, this thing is not going to let me rotate. I'm going to rotate this. It should be right over R, but as you can see, it's not going to let me do that. So I just want to rotate it so it lines up with one of the rays. Doesn't matter which one. And you can see that's pretty close to lining up right there. So RQ lines up with that right there. So it looks like I want to start with 0. So I'm going to use the bottom scale here. And it seems like this right here points to something in between, 80 and 90. I would say this is about 85 degrees. And we said it had to be acute, so that would make sense. 85 degrees. All right, let's look at another one for more practice. So here's angle tub, and again we want to say, the first thing we want to say, is this acute or obtuse? We're going to write obtuse. Okay, and once I get that, we're going to put the protractor right over the top of the U, which is the vertex here. And again, we want to make sure something lines up, either with the B side or with the other side better. We want to try to be precise as possible with this. And I'd say that's pretty good right there. So we're looking at, again, at the bottom scale, 0 degrees right there. And it seems like it points way over here to 170. And we said it was going to be obtuse, so that makes sense. So we're going to put measure of angle tub is 170 degrees. I would even want it more precise than that. I just have difficulty using a protractor on the computer here, as you can see. The next one, measure angle map. Again, this one looks to be, if we were to draw a right angle, the right angle would be right there. And I think that would make it an obtuse angle. It's more than 90 degrees, but less than 180. So we want to keep that in mind. Obtuse. So if we get confused on what scale to use, we have that as a reference. Now this one I shouldn't have that much problems with. And we're going to put that right in the middle again, right on A. And you can see that we're going to use the bottom scale, so where the 0 is. And looks like This will line up right in between 50 and 60. Oh, I gave myself a little wolf there. This is an obtuse angle. So again, we're using the bottom scale. It's in between 120 and 130. So we would say this is probably 125 degrees. And just to show you, if we wanted to, we could line this up um, so that it's right with MA. So you can see my line right here. It's going to point to now the top scale. And if I use the top scale, we'll still get something in between 125 or 120 and 130. So you know that 125 is a pretty good idea of what we're looking at. Maybe 127 degrees. Let's see if I get the same thing if I go back to P. Yeah, maybe 126, 127 degrees is the better call. So let's call it that. All right, finally, we're going to create an angle. So to create an angle, let's start with our center point. Let's just draw a little dot there. And then I'm going to go all the way over to 0, and I can choose whatever 0 I want. Let's do it on the left side. We'll use the top scale for a change. And now that I have that, I'm trying to create a 105-degree angle, so I look at 105, and that's right here. And I can move my protractor now to draw my line. I've got 3 dots, and I'm just going to kind of connect the dots from where I know my vertex would be. So I want to use arrows here. So there's one, and there's the other. And uh-oh, what did I do? I created an acute angle, and we wanted an obtuse angle here, right? I did that on purpose. So on the next page, we're going to fix that. We want to create a 105-degree angle, and now I'm paying attention to what I need for what scale to use. I'm using the upper scale, and we would do that. And again, just move the protractor once you've got your dots lined up. Make sure you're using the straight edge of the protractor. Lucky for me, I have straight edges built into the computer. And you can see right there, it doesn't even have to line up, it doesn't even have to go all the way to the dot as long as we get it lined up. That there is an obtuse angle.